Hello YouTube, Pilot Wannabe here. Just want to make a short video and let you know about one of the things I've done different lately. I have joined Virual Air Canada as a pilot for them. So for my virtual airline now is Air Canada. I switched from with whom I was flying before, and one of the reasons I'm enjoying it so much is the client, the ACARS client they have called VACARS, Virual Air Canada ACARS program, and it is great. I love it. It is awesome, and I'm going to explain. So the first thing is it's very easy to get going. So here we are at the Virual Air Canada website homepage, and if you've decided to join, you go to registration, and I encourage you to read all of these terms and conditions and such. It's not an onerous read at all, and you click register now, and there's a test to take. Minimum score 60%. It's not that hard. They just want to make sure you have a basic competence of flying. And here's some of the questions here. I'll just scroll through real fast, and it's not that big a deal. And so once you've completed the test, you're invited to register with all your personal details. Then when you've done that, you sign into the My VAC portion of the website. And so I'm going to log in, and it defaults to your profile page. First thing you're going to want to do is go to Files, and you're going to want to download the VACARS client. Now they have two versions, one for FS 2004 and one that works for both FSX and P3D. I fly with FSX Steam Edition, and it works perfectly fine. So you click and you download and you install. I'm not going to do that because it's rather straightforward. And then once you've done that, you fire up the program. So here it is here. I'll fire up the program, and it defaults to this pre-flight page. And you sign in and you're ready to go. But you need to get a flight first. So back to your MyVac, and what you need to do is you need to bid on a flight first. Now don't get scared off by this, it's rather simple. And so if you imagine yourself as a pilot for Air Canada and there's all kinds of flights, you bid on them, but in real life they just tell you what route you're going to fly. But because it's a virtual airline, you get to choose. So right now my aircraft is on the ground in Ottawa, so I'm going to put in Yankee Oscar Whiskey, and I have an A320 ready to go. So it's going to tell me all the flights flying out of Ottawa where that are scheduled to use an A320. Now these are all the ones with an A320, but even if you don't have an A320, you can substitute a different aircraft as long as it's in a certain range, similar performance, so to speak. So for the A320, you can go from the Embraer 90 all the way to the 787-900. But for these particular routes, in reality, these are real routes, by the way, the A320 is what's assigned. So let's take a simple route, Air Canada 479 from Ottawa to Toronto. Leaves at 6 o'clock in the morning local time, and it's an hour and 5-minute flight. So you select it. Okay, and then you confirm it. Now bear with me, it seems a little tedious right now, but the awesomeness is coming. Alright, so here's your flight, it's selected, and you've confirmed it, and you click on the paperwork. Now what it does is it has a back-end connection to Simroots. I believe it's Simroots, we'll find out in just a second. Simbrief, sorry. Simbrief. And the account at Simbrief is free. So that's not an issue at all. So you go there and you get your Simbrief account, and then you close the page down. And you can read this, but it's not really necessary. I've read it so many times. So anyway, you acknowledge it. Now it has your flight brief here. It has the flight call sign, Air Canada 479, your departure, your arrival. You can choose several different, usually you can choose from several different alternate airports. You can, the flight is scheduled to leave at 10 o'clock Zulu time, which is 6 o'clock local time. But if you want to fly accurately and go for extreme professionalism, you can set any time you want, and then you can even set it hours from now and come back later, and you'll be good to go. Now it's got a your route here, but you can choose others, or you could put in your own, and then you click Analyze Route, and as per Simbrief, it'll validate your route based on your AIRAC cycle. Now, if you're not a Navigraph customer, it defaults to their 1403 cycle, which is 2014 March. So if you have a Navigraph subscription at Simbrief, in the settings you can put in a code or something that tells them that you have a legitimate updated Navigraph, and then it will validate your route based on the most current cycle. Or you can use these links here to get your routes from many other sources. Alright, I highly encourage you to click on the advanced options, and you can go from kilograms to pounds. I'm flying the Aerosoft A320, and it just works best everything in kilograms. Not going over the ocean, so get rid of the ETOPS. The no times report is long and tedious, but you can do what you will there. And it's saying 145 pounds, 145 passengers, 1.6 tons of cargo. And so based on that, you can fire up your fuel planner and load that data in, and you're going to be good to go. So then it says generate an OPF, an operational flight plan. Thinking about it. Still thinking. Still thinking. A little more thinking to go. It's worth the wait. Alright, so the page is going to refresh, and here's your operational flight plan. Now, it can be a little bit scary, but I've learned to figure out most of what it means. And it includes a little map of your route. So it's all very cool and nice. Now you can download it in PDF, which is really cool, because in your flight sim, if you use something called PDF kneeboard, you could bring up PDFs on screen, and it's very handy. But for now, we're just going to open it up in my default PDF viewer. So what shows me is Captain Allen, that's my last name, and it shows the aircraft you're supposed to be flying if you have the livery for it, fin 416, call sign Foxtrot November Victor Victor, and it's got a cell code, which is good to know for vPilot or whatever client you're using to fly on VATSIM or IVAO. Let's see, this little part here, it tells you that you'll be flying at 467 knots true airspeed and flight level 300, and your route is direct to Yankee Oscar Whiskey, direct to Tukir, and then the Amoeba 2 arrival into Toronto. And it's got your fuel, your burn, and it's already prefigured with your contingency fuel, and it's really accurate. And when you get down here, your flight log, it shows your predicted fuel at landing, your estimated and your minimum that you should have legally required still in your tank, so when you're on the ground. This has all been very accurate, I have found, especially with the Aerosoft products. Alright, here's a nifty little thing, your estimated, your times, your estimated out times, that's off the gates, out of the gates, off the ground, on the ground and back into the gates. And then if you so wish, you could print out this operational flight plan and keep track of your flight, writing in these times and what your fuel is at each of these waypoints, something to keep you occupied while you're flying. So that's all very well and cool. But the best part is coming up. It is the Virtual ACARS, the Virtual Air Canada ACARS program. So our flight, if I can find it here, yes, it's Air Canada 479. And because I've confirmed this flight, it's reserved for me. So here's our VACARS client fired up, and you put in 479, flight 479. Tab over 320. It lists all the different aircrafts, and 320 is Airbus 320. Your your origin airport, CYOW. Your destination, CYYZ. 408. Your Virtual Air Canada employee number, your password, and you initialize the request, and boom, you're in. And let me tell you, this program is awesome. Alright, so I have top 6 reasons why I love this thing. And the first one, it's easy to get started, and hopefully I've been able to demonstrate that. So number 5, you get to chat with other people. And here's other Air Canada, Virtual Air Canada pilots online, chatting up a storm from wherever they are, all over the world. You get to have interesting chats with interesting people. And it's as simple as typing in a message and hit send. Okay, reason number 4, performance data. Now this is a bonus if you fly, especially the Majestic Q400, where it's kind of a pain in the butt to get your V-speeds. Well, this will do it for you. Your takeoff. You tell it the runway. So in Ottawa, runway 32, for example. But it's all right. We'll change it to the dash. Let's see if I have it here. Yes, DH4 is what the Q400 is. So you tell it runway 32, your pounds, and let's say we're 64,000 pounds. I'm just pulling that number out of the air. And your wind is 320, and let's say 5 knots. And your outside temperature, today it's warm, let's say 27 degrees. And the QNH is 3015. And you hit send. And it gives you your V-speeds, V1, VR, and V2 to plug in. And it does the same on landing performance. Do the same thing and it'll give you your V-speeds. Very, very handy instead of looking up the tables on to fly the Q400 properly. Alright. Reason number 3, weather requests. In a similar manner, you're going to Toronto on this flight, for example. And you put in CYYZ, and you click arrivals, and it gives you the Addons. And it's accurate. So it's information Tango, and winds are 130 at 7, 15 statute miles visibility, few clouds at 4,000. And it goes on, and it will even tell you what the active runways are, which is a bonus. I like this a lot because I like to know what runway is active, and quite often I started the approach before I could pick up Addons on the radio inside the aircraft. And it's not such a big deal if you're using Active Sky Next. You can dial it up anytime, but Active Sky Next won't tell you what the active runway is, and sometimes there's a difference than what you might think. So I like this weather request thing quite a bit. Reason number 2 that I like this thing, this VACARS a lot, is this OOOI report. And that's the aforementioned out, off, on and in times. It tracks it for you automatically. Don't have to do a thing. Basically, all you have to do is sign in as we've done here, jump in your aircraft, and fly the plane, land the plane, pull up at the gate, put the brakes on, the parking brakes on, and open the door, and it automatically reports your flight back. You don't have to do a thing other than utilize these features if you so choose. And the number one reason I love this VACARS so much is it is crash proof. On my very first flight, my flight sim crashed. On other flights, the computer has crashed. And when you get booted back up, all you have to do is double click your icon and it loads back. You don't even have to sign in again. It picks up exactly where you left off and no data is lost. Let me tell you, it is a lifesaver, especially compared to my previous virtual airline where it used a very simple ACARS, which has no features, and when you crash you have to do everything over manually. Your flight, your altitude, your route, everything. This already knows your route because it's plugged into the back-end systems at Virual Air Canada. So let me bring up a photo, a demonstration of, hopefully I can find it here, an example of what I'm talking about. Let's see. Alright, so here we have, after I did a flight, I pulled a screenshot of two images, one of the report, which disappeared from me, and one of the operational flight plan, what was estimated and scheduled, and the times. And I was pretty proud of this one. Where does that thing keep going? Because I was estimated to get off the blocks at 1:45 and I was out at 1:47 and it disappeared again. Anyway, and you can compare them, and it just adds to the professionalism or the pseudo-professionalism of flying for Virual Air Canada, all possible because this VACARS client is ridiculously awesome. So that being said, those are the reasons I enjoy flying for Virual Air Canada so much. This ACARS client just makes it easy as a dream, and there's other little features like you can live track and you can see what all the other pilots with Virual Air Canada are doing right now at this moment, and then you can have a chat with them through the client if you so wish. It is there's lots of coolness here. And one other thing that I think is very cool that I hadn't experienced before is it tracks your landing performance. So here's my very first flight where the computer crashed going into Montreal. I had here it is here, -8 going into Montreal. I had a glitch with my scenery, and the entire airport was dark. I mean, it was a pit of blackness. You couldn't see anything. And I so wanted to get my first flight in the bag that I went for it anyway. And then as I got closer to the approach on the autopilot, I was able to make out the runway lead-in lights. And so I just kind of put her down where I thought the runway was. And look at the score I got. I got feet per minute of 19.1. And they gave me a medal for legendary landing for achieving a touchdown at less than 20 feet per minute. And then on my third flight, I got 8 feet per minute. And it's been uphill pretty much ever since. And I had an atrocious landing my last flight. Look at that. That's terrible. But I got to say that my joystick was out of whack. I'm blaming it on that. It was overly sensitive. So there you have it. The overview on VAC ACARS, flying for Virual Air Canada, and why it's awesome. And the aircrafts look great. They really do. And you can see here, I've got it all fired up right now. I found a livery for the Air Canada Raptors for the A320, and it looks great. It looks mean. One thing though, if you fly at night, you won't see your plane. It's really dark. It's kind of weird that way. Alright, so that's it. Top 6 reasons why I love flying for VAC, or why I fly for VAC and why I love it. It is easy to get started. You get to chat with other pilots. The performance data that's available is great, especially if you fly the Majestic Q400. The weather requests that you can dial up are great and handy. And the OOOI report adds to the professionalism. And there's one other thing I forgot to mention. This estimated on time. If you tell it that this flight that we're currently scheduled for, this pseudo flight, is currently scheduled to take off at 6 p.m. local time, which is 2000 hours, no, 2200 hours Zulu. So give it 1 hour, that's 2300 Zulu, I think. So let's just put in 23 and like 05. And then you hit send, and you get a little report, and it tells you what gate you should be heading for. So I think that is really cool. It gives you a purpose once you've landed and vacated the runway. Instead of picking a gate at random to pull up to, you get to feel like a real pilot doing a real job. And overall, that is what I really like about the flying for Virtual Air Canada with the ACARS client. It gives an air of pseudo-professionalism, shall we say, and I think you will enjoy it as much as I have. There are many pilots internationally, other than from just Canada, who fly for VAC. They have over 800 pilots online and flying with them right now. So I encourage you, if you're not already with a virtual airline or you're thinking of trying one out, give VAC a try. And nobody's asked me to make this endorsement. I just felt compelled to do it. So that's it from Pilot Wannabe, and my first endorsement on YouTube is for VAC, Virtual Air Canada. It's worth it. And look out for us online on VATSIM. There's many of us out there, so maybe we'll be able to chat. Alright, that's it for Pilot Wannabe on this first ever endorsement on YouTube, and saying good night, and see you online, hopefully. Bye for now.